it going? It's Chad Calhagen. So I just noticed that for KFC's 30th anniversary in China, they're celebrating by releasing a Fire Engine Red limited edition smartphone with Colonel Sanders' face on it. This is kind of interesting. It appears to only be available in China, but it's still worth talking about because it's just like, what the hell is this? so, KFC is partnering with, and I looked this up to pronounce it correctly because it was bothering me. I said this manufacturer name in a recent video, and I was pretty sure I said it wrong. So since I was gonna have to say it in this one, I verified this. Um, KFC is partnering with Huawei. That's the correct way to say that name. um, and unsurprisingly, both company logos are on this phone. On the back of the phone, which you can see in the thumbnail of this video, it's a red phone, and it's got Colonel Sanders' face on it. And then to commemorate the 30th anniversary, it says 1987 underneath the Colonel's face. And then down a little lower, you see the Huawei symbol. And evidently, and I didn't know this, but evidently they really, really like KFC in China. Um, it and It kind of helps, I would assume, because KFC was evidently one of the first big Western brands to enter the Chinese market, and it's evidently also still bigger than McDonald's over there. Um, Evidently, KFC also um, either opened or is in the process of opening a restaurant in Shanghai that's evidently staffed by robots. So that's pretty cool. I'd like to see that. And evidently, their KFC sales are just really soaring over there right now. All things considered, this actually kind of makes a lot of sense given the market. Let's see here. So I like to be thorough when I discuss stuff. I don't like to be half-ass like some other people when they talk about phones. I'm gonna, even though this is not available in the United States, I just thought it would be fun to just kind of go through the specs. Now, here's the funny thing about the specs. When I first found these, it kind of took a little bit of digging, and I found them in Chinese. Well, so the first most sensical thing would be like, okay, well, translate the specs. Well, of course, with my luck, the specs were in like a picture on the page. So I had to kind of go through and be like, well, I know just enough about phones. Let me try to see if I can figure out what this means. So I scribbled out on a notepad, okay, this is what I think the specs are. And luckily within the specs, there was what looked to be a model number, which was SLA-AL00. So I was like, okay, I'm going to Google this model number and hope that maybe I can use this model number on some spec site to verify what I wrote down. Well, sure enough, that was the model number. And luckily there was another model of Huawei phone called the Enjoy 7 that this is actually evidently a rebrand of. So I got really lucky, and I was able to cross check these specs with that phone's specs, and they lined up. So it was just kind of dumb luck. So here are the specs for the KFC Chinese Huawei phone. So as I mentioned, it's Fire Engine Red. It's got the Colonel's face on the back. It says 1987 under that. And then it says Huawei a little lower down. It's a unibody, all metal design. Um, It comes with Android Nougat 7.0, a Snapdragon 425 processor, which is in the lower end spectrum, but is a very capable processor. Quad core running at 1.4 gigahertz, and it's got Adreno 308 graphics. 5-inch IPS display with 294 pixels per inch and a resolution of 1280 by 720. 32 gigabytes of internal storage with 3 gigabytes of RAM, so it's probably a reasonably snappy phone. I mean, no quad-core processor, so I mean, it's not going to be flying through tasks, but I think people in China will be reasonably happy with this. I know I would be. Micro SD slot officially compatible up to 128 gigabytes, so I mean, that's good. 13 megapixel rear camera with a 2.0 aperture and a 5 megapixel front camera with a 2.4 aperture. So those are decent specs for the cameras. I'm sure it'll take reasonably decent pictures, and both cameras are capable of shooting full HD video, unsurprisingly, so that'll be good. Let's see here. For wireless connectivity, this will have single band 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi along with Bluetooth 4.1. So they cheaped out a little bit. Would have been nice to see dual band on here, but once again, I mean, I kind of just say that for fun because, you know, we're not going to have this in the United States. Finally, it has a non-removable 3020 milliampere hour battery along with micro USB charging and data transfer, which surprised me. I figured it would be USB Type-C, especially over in China where I figured they'd be cutting edge, but that's okay. And it takes a nano SIM card. So that's what we know about the specs. You know, this video is really just for fun. I just thought this was kind of interesting because, I mean, we like KFC in the United States, but I don't feel like we love it to the extent that people in China do. So there you go. Thanks for watching this video. If you found it interesting at all, please hit the like button. If you hated this video, hit the dislike button. That's fine too. You're entitled to your own opinion. And please subscribe to my channel for videos in the near future similar to this one. We'll see you in the next video.